Qatar is a strong partner and a longtime friend of the United States.
A message of support from the U.S. Secretary of State to the state of Qatar, who didn't get the same treatment from Rex Tillerson's boss at the start of the blockade.
We ask Qatar and other nations in the region to do more and do it faster.
President Donald Trump initially sided with the blockading countries, but has since called for the sides to settle their disagreements. He even promised to help them negotiate. But that was last September, and not much has changed. So now these talks, resolving some big sticking points in the relationship. Qatar Airways has agreed to open its books, a big demand of U.S. air carriers. And the sides have signed an agreement to work together, improving labor laws and preventing human trafficking in Qatar. While here, Qatar sent a kind of message to the U.S. president in the kind of talk he likes the most: money and business.
Qatar is already investing more than $100 billion in the U.S. economy, including $10 billion earmarked for infrastructure.
For its part, the visit meant the blockade was once again being talked about in Washington and framed in a way to highlight that this isn't just a Gulf issue.
As the Gulf dispute nears the 8-month mark, the United States remains as concerned today as we were at its outset. This dispute has had direct negative consequences, economically and militarily, for those involved, as well as the United States.
And Qatar also got something it very much wanted: a promise of protection, signing an agreement that the U.S. would work jointly with Qatar to deter and confront external pressures to Qatar's territorial integrity. Analyst Imam Har believes that will be heard in the region.
What it does, it puts the United States more closer to Qatar, so to speak, and it basically tells the others that are blockading it that the United States is not going to really be in your camp anymore.
There really hasn't been much discussion here at the State Department about how much longer this blockade will last, but they are sending a message with this meeting, signing an agreement that this is going to happen every year. Next year, Secretaries of Defense and State will be headed to Doha. Patty Culhane, Al Jazeera, Washington.